I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. You clicked on this video, you saw that thumbnail, and you're thinking, how is this guy going to convince me to sell the guy that's on the cover of FIFA, the guy that won the Premier League PFA Player of the Season last year, put up the most FPL points per match last season, put up the most FPL points this season? But listen, boys, my goal of this video is to try to convince you that Haaland isn't essential in FPL, and my plan is to actually sell him in FPL. It sounds absolutely ridiculous, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense given all the things I've just said, but sit back, relax, and enjoy the show, baby. Game week 6 was a smashing success. I went from 160k to 67k, so a nice solid 100k green arrow, and my transfer of doing Chilwell to Trippier, perfect. Absolutely beautiful move for Trippier to come in there and pick up 18 points with 3 assists. So it worked out like insane, like literally insane. Like I was in my living room jumping around like I was a 12-year-old kid when Trippier got that assist to Botman. Those are the moments that I live for. Like those are the moments that I play FPL for. And so I was just so happy to have something like that happen. I knew it would happen over the course of the season. I was hoping for it to just happen one time and just hoping that I had started them both. But for it to happen in the first game, like, wow. Like, that is just 2 words come to mind, bro. Positive variance. Like, I got lucky. I'm just counting my lucky stars, and I'm going to keep those points in the bank and just move forward. You know how it is, boys. Because there's going to be positive variance some weeks, and there's going to be negative variance in other weeks. Over a larger period of time, it's going to even out. So, again, I've just been getting pretty lucky. And so I'm just happy to continue this good luck. And I haven't really had any injury scares either. So things have just kind of been falling into place. So just riding this hot streak, and let's just try to keep it going, you know? Of course, I have a Stupinian in defense as well, playing against Bournemouth. He picked up the 6-pointer, right? So you're expecting him, what, to have a clean sheet? No. Clean sheet wipeout. He ends up having this massive block on the line as well. He had a goal line saving clearance as well. So they could have conceded 2 to Bournemouth, but they only conceded 1, so he didn't get the minus point for that. And he actually put up an assist. But can you believe it? But this guy actually put up a bonus point, even though they conceded. Like, it just shows you how great of an asset Estupinian is. As long as he's nailed and plays like in almost every single game this season, he should be in everyone's FPL team. He is last season's Kieran Trippier, where he's underpriced and he's not really a defender. He's a midfielder for Brighton. Moving on to my mids, I've got James Maddison and Bukayo Saka. I knew the North London derby was going to have goals, and it did not disappoint at all. One of the best games of the season so far for me, but to own players and for them to have scored massive points, like 9 points and 13 points, that's surpassing my expectations. I was hoping for them to just pick up an assist or a goal, like maybe hopefully, especially Maddison, man. Maddison has been so consistent this year. It's unreal. And Saka as well, but Saka's EO is so high, like it doesn't really matter that much. Moving on, I've got my boy Brian Mbeumo. He's been so great this year, but this has been his first disappointing game. Like Brentford live for those big moments. They always have 3 or 4 big moments in the match, and you need Brian Mbeumo to punish a team, but that didn't happen in this game. Everton were honestly the better team. I think it's watching a game like that where I feel like Everton and Wolves are not going to go down this year. They have like a different level that they can get to. They don't consistently get there, but they have that level available to them. But I don't think teams like Sheffield, Fulham, and Luton, even Burnley, I don't think they have that level that they can get to like Everton and Wolves can. They were pretty impressive in this game. And so it is what it is. Another Mbumo blank, but we've been pretty lucky with him. He's been picking up some pens. He has really solid XGI statistics over the course of the season. He's been a great asset so far. You know, usually what happens with Brian Mbeumo is that he plays like 30 minutes as striker after like Wista subbed off in like the 60th or 7th minute mark. But what happened is he actually moved to right wing back. So I don't know if I really want Mbeumo going forward. Like that was a pretty big red flag for me. So he's definitely on the chopping block moving forward. Next, I've got my Manchester United mids. They have been so underwhelming, but thank God Bruno scored that goal. Like, what an absolute banger, by the way. He is just one of my favorite players in the league. I think he's underpriced. Like, I think next year he'll probably end up being a 9.5, maybe $10.0 million asset. I think that's where he should be priced, especially given the fact that he's on penalties. The problem with Bruno is that Ten Hag plays him so deep last year. So I understand why he dropped in price because he wasn't picking up enough goals and assists. Like he was creating for the team, but he wasn't leading enough towards goals and assists from an FPL perspective. He wasn't an absolute gold mine. But he underperformed his statistics last year, and United are on the way to do it again. So it's another disappointing start to the season, but for him to pick up a nice solid 10-pointer from just one goal, it just shows you how great he is in the BPS system. And Rashford's the one that's disappointing me more than Bruno. Like Bruno looked really lively in that game. He had another chance. He could have scored 2 in that game, honestly. But Rashford's the one that's disappointing me. He had these moments where he's cutting in onto the right foot, but he's just not even looking to shoot. It's like he's looking to pass and get Haaland involved into the team. I'm just hoping that over the next couple of fixtures, that sort of thing changes, because right now with United, the X vibes are just not there. And so there's something that's not right with Man United, but we got to see how that plays out. And lastly, we've got my Manchester City strikers. Julian Alvarez, my differential, the secret's out, boys. Like, that was my differential, but a lot of people have moved there. His effective ownership went from 35% to 66%, and now it's like a lot of people have him in their team. The reason that happened is because in Champions League, he went out there and got 2 goals. And that's the thing that's so frustrating, is like, I wish he had done that in the Premier League, and then everyone would have brought him in the week after, and I could have been just like bathing in those points and price rises. But now it's just like I'm bathing in the price rises. But he's been pretty solid. He's putting up a lot of XGI, but not the same amount as Erling Haaland. But he's still getting enough returns because he's a clinical finisher. And it's crazy because when you think about Alvarez, you have to compare him to people at his price point. People like Solanke and Awoniyi. He's cheaper than players like Darwin and Wilson and Watkins. Like, those guys are in a different price bracket. So I think Alvarez is better than all of those strikers. And I think he's just one of the best value strikers in the game right now. And of course, we have Erling Haaland. His points don't even matter. Like, look at that EO, bro. 197%. Like, bruh. Well, thanks a lot. I'll take your 1 goal and I'll move on, bro. Honestly, the first 6 weeks have been really great for me. I've had a lot of positive variants, and I really got to thank certain players that have helped me on this fixture run so far. The first 3 weeks, I had William Saliba. Picking Saliba over Gabriel, over Ben White, over Zinchenko, it's been really great. Like, I've been pretty lucky to have an assist from Saliba, to have some bonus points, to even get some clean sheets over the people that picked Gabriel because he was benched. Like, things really did work out because I went Saliba. And then in the next phase, I felt like my next differential was Alvarez. I was jumping on Alvarez before content creators were. When a lot of people were going to Nicholas Jackson, I was on Alvarez, and that's kind of what gave me my next set of green arrows. And this week, Kieran Trippier, he was the one that did the business, man. So glad I just stayed confident. I stayed and I trusted my Newcastle defense, trusted my instincts, and it worked out. It worked out really well. And lastly, I really got to talk about this guy. Erling Haaland is ridiculous. Like, he scored 8 goals. More goals than half of the team is in the league. Like, entire teams, not players. Like, he's just different, bro. Haaland is different gravy. If you watch football, this isn't new to you. It's just mad to see the statistic when you write it out like that, though. And for me, the best fixture of the week was Arsenal and Spurs. Like, that game was nuts, like, very open. I really just had this idea going in that Arsenal were going to go out there and either win or draw. I felt like Arsenal had the result. When I was watching them play, I was like, first of all, Gabriel Jesus is playing. Like, where's Martinelli? Like, where's Trossard? Apparently, Trossard was out, but with Martinelli being out as well, playing Gabriel Jesus on the wing, it's just not great for the team. Like, in a fixture like this, you need Jesus up top, and you need Martinelli or Trossard on the wing. The fact they didn't have that, it didn't bode well for them, because Arsenal, they just pressed Spurs. There were multiple chances where they won the ball up high up the pitch, but the chances were falling to the wrong players. Like, they really missed how clinical Martinelli was in this game. If Nketiah put his chance away, if Jesus put his chance away, they would have honestly smashed Spurs, but they didn't, and they let Spurs back into the game. And this is what happens, bro. Maddison and Son are XGI overperformers. Like, half a chance and they're gonna score a goal. That's just how they are. But it was a great game to watch, and I really did just feel like Saka is just like the biggest troll in the league. This guy goes out there, goes against Man United, and does the Rashford celebration. He plays against Spurs and does the Maddison celebration. Like, man, I love Bukayo, but yo, this guy's a troll, man. I feel like it's like friendly trolling. That's the thing that I like about it. It's like it's good vibe trolling. It's not like they're being like ruthless and mean to each other. You even see in the interview, like, they're just bantering each other, talking about how they were talking all this trash during the international break. Like, I love narratives like that, and I can't wait for the next North London derby. Like, as a neutral, it was a great game to watch. The bitter part about it is that Saka and Maddison are both carrying knocks after this game. I think Maddison went through a scan, but it was precautionary, and I'm sure he's going to play the Liverpool game. It didn't seem like there was any negative news, so I think that's going to be fine. The thing with Bukayo is that they're playing Bournemouth this weekend in EPL, so I know they have the cup match, and so potentially Arteta could be setting up this narrative so we can just rest Bukayo, but if there's a chance Saka could be benched in the game, they don't really need him against Bournemouth to get the win. That's the thing. So if we do get a whiff that Saka is benched or Saka is not in the squad, especially given the fact that the Arsenal game is on the same day as the FPL deadline, I will probably sell him because he also has Manchester City and Chelsea after that. It sounds weird because I really do feel like Saka is the easiest set and forget player in FPL, but I feel like you can take advantage of leaks and getting information like that. So that's just something I'm going to have an eye on the day of the deadline. Lastly, the last piece of information I took from that game is Son is the number 9 for Spurs. No doubt in my mind, because Richarlison went out there against Sheffield United with 10 minutes that he got subbed on for. He got the goal, he got the assist, and he won Spurs the game. So I really thought that he was going to be starting and Son would be moved out wide, but no. Postecoglou started Son up there. And you know why? Because Son is the best player. Put him in this best position. I back Postecoglou a lot for that. This guy has come in and changed the culture of Spurs. The only thing that's really disappointed me is I don't know why they sold Kane. Like, this is the exact season they could have gone out there and been title contenders, like, without a doubt. If Kane was in this team, they would genuinely be in the conversation with the way that they're playing. Like, the culture is just so different nowadays, and it's a pity he's not there, but it is what it is. And I just think with Son as the striker, he's going to get lots of opportunities. He's been putting up an XGI of 0.6 when he's playing striker for Spurs. I know he's not playing 90 minutes, but even in 80 minutes, he's putting that up. And if he gets an XGI involvement of like that, he's going to put up at least a goal and assist in every single game that he plays. Like, that's just how lethal Son is as a finisher. In my opinion, I think Son is a better finisher than probably even Mo Salah. I think Son is probably the second best finisher in the entire league. Like, that's how highly I rate Son's finishing. And I don't even think that's a bold statement. Like, I just think Son is just insane at finishing. He has a large sample size of actually showing that this is true as well. So I think Son is definitely on my radar, especially given the fact that they have Luton and Fulham on the horizon. Moving on, we've got Brighton, who just continue to just keep picking up wins. Like, even when they concede early, and they even just decided to bench half of their players. Like, De Zerbi played a completely rotated squad. But of course, I was so happy for Mitoma to be on the bench, man. Like, I was like, man, this is like the guy that has the really high effective ownership, and he's one of the main threats to my rank. So I was so happy when he was benched, but the bro subbed on and got 2 goals off the bench. It's like this guy was like, oh, you're going to bench me? I'm going to step up and show you to never bench me again, bro. Like, that's just what Mitoma, he's just... He's nuts, bro. He's been overperforming his XGI so far this season, and he did this last year, the same thing. Like, he did the same thing. And then, like, the next couple games after that, he underperformed his XGI. I really want to emphasize that Mitoma's consistency isn't on the same level as players like Fernandez, Luis Diaz, like Diego Jota, where it's like whenever they get the chances, you're going to trust them to put it away. I don't know if Mitoma's on that level yet. I think this is the season where we find out. But I just think as an FPL pick, he's one of the best, especially from a value perspective. The only issue with Mitoma is that he doesn't have any set pieces. He's not on any free kicks, any corners, or penalties. So you're really reliant on him taking advantage of those big moments that he gets in games. And if he misses those big chances, he's going to blank. And that could just be a series of blanks as he loses confidence. So it's one of those things where you really have to monitor Mitoma if you bring him into your team. Lastly, Liverpool's consistency. They have been insane. 6 games, 5 wins, 1 draw. Salah has been so consistent. This streak goes back to the end of last season where Liverpool put Trent Alexander-Arnold into midfield and they started cooking, scoring lots of goals and winning lots of games. Like, Salah has scored or gotten an assist in 12 games in a row. I need Mo Salah in my team. Like, the fixtures are turning, and I think I really want to captain him. Like, I think he's going to be my go-to captain option for most of the weeks going forward, and I think I just need him in my team. So the question is, do I sell my underperforming Manchester United mids, or do I sell basically the best player in the league, Erling Haaland? Like, it's just so obvious what to do, isn't it, right? Sell my Manchester United mids, right? Well, this is the thing that really, really surprised me. I was looking at the expected goal involvement of all the midfielders in the Premier League, and Bruno and Rashford are in the top 5 for XGI for all of the mids. And I just think that surprised me. I was really surprised to see them there. Like, that didn't make sense, especially given the fact that they've been playing so poorly. And it just shows you that Man United have been playing poorly because they've been underperforming their XGI, but they're still putting up expected goals. And I just feel like over a larger sample size, Rashford and Bruno are going to be good FPL picks. And the thing with them is that when you look at their fixtures, you can argue that they're just holds. The fact that they're both on my team, it's hard for me to argue that I need to sell them. Like, I look at the fixtures and I see Sheffield United away. That team has been poor so far this year. Fulham away, I think that team is poor defensively. Luton at home. That's probably the best fixture on your calendar over the course of the whole season. And Everton away, they're pretty poor as well. So the two games that I am kind of worried about them is that Crystal Palace at home game and that Brentford at home game, because those two teams are like mid-table teams, but they're not really mid-table. They're more like upper mid-table. So they're like pretty strong teams. But then I look at it again, and then both those games are at home. There's no way United go out there and draw blanks in those games. They're going to go out there and at least score goals. They may not win the game, but they're going to score some goals. And if they do, Bruno and Rashford are going to be involved, right? So it's just hard for me to really convince myself to sell them. I feel like as differentials, they would be great. Like Bruno is on the penalties. He's playing right wing. He's much more advanced than where he was in positioning relative to last season. And on top of that, Rashford was the guy that I triple captain last year. Like he just has credit in the bank. I know he's not playing that great right now, and I know he's looking to pass rather than looking to shoot sometimes. He hasn't been getting as many shots on target as I expected him to over this fixture run. But I just think Rashford has another level that he can get to. And I think if he just focuses and he takes advantage of these opportunities and things start to click, he's going to thrive. And I think over these fixtures, I could just totally see that happening, where the negative narrative and the negative stigma around Manchester United and them is just going to change. Like over these games, I'm expecting them to win them. And they're going to go out there at least and score goals. And so that's why it sounds weird, but it's like, even though they haven't been playing that great, I just think they're holds, they're not sells. And I just feel like with Erling Haaland, there's just a higher opportunity cost. Like he's 14.0, and that's why I really just feel like Haaland isn't essential. Like look at these fixtures from game week 8 to game week 15. How many of these games are you going to captain Haaland? The only one that really stands out to me is Bournemouth at home. Like that's the fixture. If you don't captain Haaland, like you got to be behind the couch. You got to turn the TV off. Like don't even watch the game. Just hope that, you check the result later on and it's not like 6-0. Like that's kind of what you're hoping for. And I think I really want to emphasize the fact that Man City were a different team away from home than they were at home. I did a deep dive into their statistics, and Man City at home put up an XG of 2.3, and they scored 3.2 goals per match last season. And away from home, they put up 1.9 XG, and they scored 1.8 goals per match last season. So at home, they were overperforming their XG, and away from home, they were underperforming their XG. That's really normal. There's like nothing abnormal about that at all. But I just think there's something about being at home. Like there's obviously an advantage about being at home because, you're sleeping in your bed, you're getting your home cooked meal, like you have your routine on point, like your changing room is exactly what you're expecting it to be like. So it's like being away from home, there's just one thing that can just trigger you, like maybe your headphones die because like you weren't being able to charge them, just little things like that. And I feel like it sounds really weird, but little factors add up like that as a player. And I feel like that just gives me another reason to go against Erling Haaland. Like I don't expect him to get massive returns against Arsenal away or against Man United away, Chelsea away. I just don't think there's going to be big returns in that. So I looked at last season. I looked at how many returns he got in these games respectively. So against Arsenal away, he got 1 goal. Against Brighton at home, he got 2 goals. Against Man United away, he got 0 goals and 0 assists. And obviously, I know what you're thinking about. You're thinking about, hey, like, I recall like Haaland absolutely smashing Man United last year, and he did, but that was at home. And I think he got like 2 goals and 2 assists. And so, like, what if he just did that away from home this season? Like, why couldn't he do that? And you're right. Like, it's like just because they blanked last season or they scored last season, that doesn't mean they're going to do the same thing again this season. I'm just sort of showing you the amount of returns that he put up last season in these games and just saying like, hey, what do you think? So let me finish that. So they played Bournemouth at home. They scored 4 goals and Haaland had 1 assist. Against Chelsea, blanked. Against Liverpool at home, blanked. Against Spurs at home, he got 1 goal. Against Aston Villa away, he got 1 goal. So it just shows you like this man is 14.0. And yes, he could be your set and forget captain, and you don't have to worry about it. Like he's the best player in the league, but I don't think I'm going to be captaining him. The upside is really low. My base case for Haaland is him scoring 1 goal in every single one of these games. And he obviously has the potential to get a hat-trick in any single game he plays for. But I just feel like if I trust the statistics based on what they did last season, and given the fact that their second best player is out, I just feel like going against Haaland does make a lot of sense. The opportunity cost is just so high. And when I think about big games, apart from that one time where Haaland attacked Arsenal when Saliba was injured, and that one game where he played Man United and smashed them, there's not that many games that come to mind when Haaland's done well in big games. In the Champions League, in the Premier League, I don't really have many memories of that last season. And it's because KDB was the big game player. Like, I really found that like they would use Haaland as a target man and he would lay it off to KDB, and he was the one that was always scoring the goals in those games. So why couldn't that just be Alvarez this time around? And it really just leads me to this quote that I heard Rodri say when he was at the PFA Player of the Season conference. They were doing interviews, and you know what? Let me just roll the clip.
You obviously scored that special goal that delivered not only the first Champions League for Man City, but also securing the treble. And now you go again this season. How can you beat that?
Well,
do it again.
I don't know. Sometimes Erling doesn't do his job. And no.
I know Rodri's just bantering, you know, he's doing it for the jokes because that's his bro. But whenever you're roasting your bro, there's usually like a sliver of silver lining or a sliver of truth there in the joke. And I think that's the thing with Haaland is I just believe he's not a big game player. And I think this season is going to be the season that if he wants to step up and be like the undisputed best player in the world, he has to go out there and be the difference maker in those games. He hasn't been that so far, in my opinion, from what I see from my eye test and what the statistics are telling me. And I just feel like there is room to bet against him. And you got to remember, even if you own Haaland, like if you don't captain him, he's going to hurt you because his effective ownership is going to be above 100%. And you can look at it like, hey, Haaland is going to be a shield for me. So like if he ends up picking up a hat trick, I won't be captaining him, but at least I'll have those points, right? So at least like my score is going to be high. So yeah, you can look at it that way. Like that's a low risk way of playing. But the way that I want to play, I want to win FPL, bro. Like I'm literally sitting at 66K and I want to take the risk on because I want to be one. Like I want to be number one, baby. Like I would regret not taking on the risk. Like looking at these fixtures, like bro, Haaland, get out of here, bro. I'm going to bring in the king, bro. Let me see how that goes, man. And if you're just going to sell Haaland, you have to make sure you have your captaincy on lock. So let me just break it down for you week by week. A lot of people are visual people, so this is the best way for me to represent it. So in game week 9, I think captaincy is pretty even. I think you could go for Son versus Fulham at home, or you could go for Salah against Everton at home. I just think whenever there's a 50-50 decision, I'm going to lean towards Mo Salah, not just because I'm a Liverpool fan. I just think that Salah is the second best player in the league, and I think there's no doubt about that. So if it's a 50-50 decision, I'm going to lean towards the second best player, especially if I think the fixtures are kind of equal. In game week 10, Liverpool are going to be playing Nottingham Forest at home, but then Arsenal have got Sheffield United at home. And this is where it's kind of debatable, where it's like Nottingham Forest have been a pretty solid defense this year, and Sheffield United have been very poor. So even though I would back Salah over Saka, I just think that Saka is probably the right captain here, just basically basing it off of fixtures. And I think in game week 11, if you've already sold Haaland, like you'd probably be captaining Mo Salah. There's no one else that you would trust. And this is the thing. There's obviously going to be a narrative when you can actually go against Mo Salah. Like as great of an FPL pick as I think he is, like no one is essential in FPL, especially given the pricing this season. Because you could just go through this and say, hey, I'm going to captain Son in 8, 9. I'm going to captain Saka in 10. I'm going to captain Haaland in 11 against Bournemouth. Captain Saka in 12. And then figure out maybe a Manchester United mid in 13. And then go back to Saka for 14 and 15. So like you could totally do that. But I just think captaincy is the single most important factor in FPL. And I think if you're looking at in game week, for example, for 14 and 15, if you're looking at Saka versus Salah, I'm going to back Salah every single day of the week. Like when I look back at the expected goal involvement so far this season, like Saka has 5 and Salah has 6. And last season over a larger sample size, Salah had more XGI than Saka. And I think Salah is a much more polished player. I think Saka has the same potential to potentially even be better than where Salah is. But right now, he isn't that guy. And I think if it's a 50-50 decision, I'm going to back my guy and I'm going to back Mo Salah every single day of the week, baby. If I decide to sell Erling who? If I decide to sell Erling Haaland, like this is the way that I would probably break it down is I would go Son versus Luton in game week 8 versus when Haaland has Arsenal away. In game week 9, I'll be going Salah versus Everton at home when Haaland has Brighton at home. In game week 10, I would go Saka versus Sheffield United at home when Haaland has Man United away. In game week 11, I go Salah versus Luton away when Haaland is going to be playing Bournemouth at home. So far, it's kind of even. I think in game week 8, I have the advantage. In game week 9, I'd say it's pretty even. In game week 10, I think regardless of if you go for Salah or don't go for Salah, I think you're going to be captaining Saka here in game week 10, probably the right move. In game week 11, I mean, you're just going to back Haaland, the fact that he's at home, but I think Salah could match him. Like, I don't think it's that big of an advantage towards that Haaland captaincy in game week 11. But in game week 12, I think this is kind of where things start to change, where it's like in game week 12, again, you'd own Saka regardless. So Saka would be probably my captaincy option in game week 12, and 13 again, it's going to be one of those fixtures where it's like, Bruno, I'd probably captain Bruno versus Everton when Haaland is going to be playing Liverpool at home. But you could also go for a Son captaincy here because Son is playing Aston Villa at home, and I trust Spurs more than I trust Man United right now. And that's kind of the reason where I do, if I sell Haaland, I want to have Son in my team and I want to have Salah in my team because it's a backup option for captaincy in game week 13. If I don't trust my Man United players at this time, I'm not going to be selling them. I want to ride them through their good fixtures, but if I don't want to captain them, then I will captain Son because Aston Villa have this crazy high line, and I know Son can take advantage of that. I know Spurs will take advantage of that in that game. So I just think that's something that I do have my eye on is that game week 13 captaincy. I feel like that is one of the most important captaincies of like this fixture run. And again, in 14 and 15, I think Salah is the best captaincy option. Like, I would love to bet against Haaland in these fixtures. Like, I'm really hoping Haaland's EO is 150% in these games because I think if I can get that and I can get Salah at 200%, I would absolutely love to take Haaland on in these games. Like, I think in 14 and 15 specifically, that's where I'm like, all right, this is where I make the money in this fixture run. So anyway, these are what my thoughts are right now. It's like, I know it sounds crazy to even really fathom the idea of selling the best player in the league. Like, it's hard for me to convince you. It's like selling ice to an Eskimo, but the way that I'm breaking down my captaincy week in and week out, I really do feel like having Son, Salah, and Saka in your team is just super, super important. And I think it's hard to get to a draft like that while also having Haaland in your team. And so that's why I think going forward, I think Haaland is an essential. I think that's the reason why I'm actually going to sell him. It's kind of weird. I need a lot of things to fall into place. I need to like avoid injuries, especially because Madison and Saka have a knock. But if I get news that Saka is out, I'm going to move him on to Son, and I think that'll just be me confirming that I'm going to be going against Haaland because I'm going to need that money to eventually sell Haaland and go to either Watkins or Darwin, and I'm sell Mbumo to bring him up to the king. So this is the last week, bro. This is my last dance with Erling Haaland, bro. Like, thank you so much. It's not goodbye. It's a see you later. This is going to be my last week, most likely with him, and I'm just thinking my likely moves are going to be Haaland out to either Watkins or Darwin, and then Mbumo out to Salah. That's just my simple move. I had this move planned from preseason. I just think it's the right move based on the fixtures. But debating between Watkins and Darwin is going to be a massive decision because I think Darwin, he's very explosive and he's so talismanic, bro. Whenever he gets starts, he always gets all the big chances. Like, it's ridiculous. And the thing with Darwin is that it does feel like he is part of the first 11 now because Klopp ended up playing Gakpo in the cup match with a backup side. So it does seem like Darwin is number one. And I think even on the left wing, I think the number one is Luis Diaz over Jota. So it does seem like the front three is Diaz, Nunez, and Salah. So you could have an argument of, hey, like, I know that Darwin is going to be a great option, so let me just move my second striker, keep Haaland, and just move my second striker to get Darwin to get Salah coverage. But I'm not sure if that's the right pick because I just don't know if I trust Klopp. And I just think captaincy is so important. So I just think I really need to have Mo Salah. So the question is, do I go like Darwin or Watkins? Like, in isolation, I'm not sure what the right pick is. I think the safer pick is going to be Watkins. But Darwin is a really, really solid differential, so I definitely have my eye on him as well. In midfield, it's pretty simple. I'm going to be going to Salah, and if I really want to spice things up, I could go to Son as well. The other mids that I'd be looking at, if I wanted to sell my Man United mids, would be Eze, Matoma, and Diaby. And lastly, in defense, if I have extra money, if I sell Haaland, I'd probably be looking to upgrade one of my defenders to either Robertson, Van Dijk, or Trent. I think the Liverpool fixtures coming up are absolutely gorgeous. I wouldn't do it now, but I mean from game week 9 onwards, like, those fixtures are just, wow, they're mint. But the fact I brought my differential in of Chilwell to Udogie, that was my transfer this week. The fact that I brought that in now, it just sort of lends the idea of me not bringing in a Liverpool defender in game week 9. I'll likely bring them in maybe game week 10 because Udogie has he has Luton away in game week 8 and Fulham at home in game week 9. So it's one of those fixtures where I wouldn't want to sell him, but in game week 10 I could look to move him on to somebody like Robertson or Van Dijk or Trent at that time. So that's kind of where my team is. So specifically just running through it, again, I'm really happy to have Areola. This fixture rotation between Areola and Turner is really solid from now on in. And again, it's just so cheap. Both 4.0s in my team. I'm really just trying to pick up some save points for my keeper. I really don't care how many points they score. Trippier and Bauman in my double Newcastle defense doing really well. And again, I'm hoping that they do it again. They're at home. It should be they should be even more likely statistically to keep a clean sheet in this game because they're at home. So I just can't wait to watch that game. It's tough to watch sometimes because, it's just stressful with double defense from the same team, but Newcastle are so solid. So I'm happy to have that. The problem with my defense is Estupiñán. It's not really a problem because Estupiñán is so attacking, but it's like it would have been nicer if I had Chilwell there and he was starting against like somebody like Burnley or Fulham, but it is what it is. It's not the most optimal defense, but it's good enough. Madison and Saka, I've got my eye on them. If I hear news that any of them are injured, there will likely be a transfer out to Heung-min Son. But again, their fixtures respectively are really good. When I think about the Liverpool and Spurs game, I'm thinking both teams are going to score. Probably Son gets a shot on target. Like, it's going to be a really open game. Like, that's how Liverpool and Spurs games are. I'm expecting Arsenal to go out there and win the game. I'm really hoping Bukayo starts because if he starts, this is a money fixture for him. This is probably going to be Mbumo's last game on my team. I think I've seen enough where it's like there's a chance of him playing wing back. Like, he's just not that direct as he was. And I think his good fixtures are gone. So I think I'm thankful for what Mbumo has done, but this is also going to be your last dance, most likely. And Rashford and Bruno, come on, boys. You're the boys I'm putting my faith in my entire season. All my decisions is based on keeping trust in you guys. Please don't let me down. And up top, we've got Julian Alvarez and Erling Haaland. The thing is with Alvarez, he started in the cup match where they played a completely rotated squad. They lost the cup, so I think that only means good things because, if Pep's looking to play a striker in that game, it's like, that's the thing. You have to like sub Alvarez off early because he's going to have to play in those like games where you don't really care about them. So it's good that they're not in the cup and they lost that. I think that means a good thing for Alvarez. And I think Alvarez is just so solid. Like on the set pieces, on the free kicks, like 6.8 million, like against Wolves, like bro, this is a money fixture. And I think Haaland, captaincy, easiest decision. I know there's this double game week where you could go for somebody like Morris up top and captain him in a double, but bro, those teams are trash, bro. I would never do that. Let's go Erling Haaland. Give me one more time to enjoy your points in peace, and then from then on in, bro, Erling who? Yeah, game week 7 looks pretty solid to me. I think I have a really good team overall. And listen, if you watched all the way to this point in the video, I just want to say thank you so much for supporting the channel. I'm a really new person to content creation and making YouTube videos and building the slides and putting all this stuff together. If you have any feedback, please just drop me a comment below. All the support is really appreciated. Even a like. I'm really trying to get to 50 subscribers right now. I'm at 43, so each little subscriber means so much to me. So if you could hit that button, it would mean a lot to me. And again, thank you so much for spending the time. And I'm wishing you guys green arrows, and I'll catch you guys next week. Peace.